What's going on, everyone, and what's going on, Japan? So, a lot of people wanted me to cover Thomas Lockley. We need to know, how far back this goes, and most likely who Ubisoft worked with, and why I can tell that they did. I mean, this is pretty obvious to me. So, first of all, let's take a look at something real quick. We see that the books that he did here, if we go down, African Samurai and a Gentleman from Japan, which he's going to cover in this one video. But the interesting thing about this is that he didn't do this alone. So let me tell you what I'm talking about. If we go down to African Samurai here, there was also a gentleman called Geoffrey. See that? Gerard. He was the co-writer with him. This guy is from Germany. He's 56 years old now. So they've been doing this. So it's not just him, though he's the guy that's obviously the main person, doing all this. But what's interesting is that this guy was the co-writer through that book. So this is something you guys need to know. It'll be this dude right here. It says he's an author of nonfiction, thrillers, historicals, and speculative fiction. So we know where to put that at. If we click on the 2024 book, well, actually, that was 2019. Yeah, he's right there, too. Well, actually, yeah, Thomas Lockley's only on this one. So, and then we have 2019. As you see right here, he's also included. So it's interesting to know we have somebody from Britain and somebody from Germany working together with the France and the liberals at Ubisoft with the woke crowd here. Y'all see that now? It's important information because we want to know who's all involved and what the hell is going on here. So something else that people probably didn't cover are videos that he did by this individual over here, Lance E. Lee. There's a podcast about this. But what's also interesting about this is some humorous stuff here. Thomas Lockley. When I first saw this picture and I didn't glance, I swear I thought that was Tom Cruise. And then when I looked closer, I was like, wait, is this guy and Tom Cruise related? Because they're both Thomases or Toms, right? So if we go take a look at Tom Cruise, it's like, oh man, these guys can kind of look a little bit identical. What's also mind-blowing is that Tom Cruise was in The Last Samurai, and then he's talking about the first Black Samurai, Thomas Lockley. So we got both Toms covering Japanese history and Japan. The difference, though, is that what Tom Cruise and those guys did is there was a lot of respect for Japan. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So let's go to Tom Cruise and let's go to The Last Samurai. Remember, this was a 2003 film, and this film is amazing. Even a lot of Japanese liked it. You want to know why, too? Because these guys actually worked with Japan. Let's go down to Last Samurai Wikipedia. All right, and this movie did incredibly well. And remember, it launched in Tokyo before it did in Western society. But let's go down and take a look at some interesting here. So Tom Cruise was Nathan Algren. Ken, do we see this right here? Ken Watanabe, Japanese actor. He played Moritsugu Katsumoto. Koyoki, Japanese model and actress. Let's keep going. Shin Koyomada, Japanese actor. Masato Harada, Japanese film director, film critic, and actor. We seeing this? Nakamura. Shinichi Nosuke, 2, Japanese. Hiroyuki Sanada, Japanese actor. Shiso Fukumoto, Japanese actor. Shun Suguta, Togo Igawa. Look how much they're involved together. Yeah. I think there's a huge difference between what Tom Cruise did with The Last Samurai and what Ubisoft is doing with Assassin's Creed. We see that this is very professional. This is not professional. And let's go ahead and take a look at some things real quick. First of all, let's give a little introduction to this video. This is a highlight that he did from his podcast. And going down here, there's a lot of people that are pissed. Yasuke is not a samurai. Who is Yasuke? Last name or surname? Why didn't he commit seppuku as a samurai? It takes many years to train in martial arts. He served for 1 year. Yeah, so there's no way you could be a samurai in 1 year in Japan and speak Japanese and be able to wield the club that he was wielding. We all know that's fake. And this guy right here is a black man with a tremendous love for Japan and its history. You should be ashamed for drawing the country's ire towards my people with your lies. Too bad Yasuke is a fictional character. I think you should change your thumbnail before all hate comes pouring in. The other video actually has more. So if we go over here to 3,600, this is a podcast. You guys going to learn some things about this guy. And be very careful because he's very good about making you feel comfortable with this other guy. And can just kind of, put you in like this little, like, peaceful trance. But we all know what he did was not cool. So they called him an evil liar here. Don't teach the world false history. Lockley. The ton of lies have already been revealed. He revised the article about Yasuke on Wikipedia to fit his fantasy novel. Now he's infamous for the revisionist behavior in Japan. This guy, Thomas, got no solid evidence. Everything he wrote about Yasuke is his fantasy and fiction. It's very disgraced for Japanese history. He is full of shit. And then, this person is just a hoax. He should know how much of a sin they have committed. His books are nothing but fantasy that ignores history. Yasuke is not a samurai. And then the same thing, the guy did the same thing again. Same comment you've seen before as a black man. Racist Ubisoft. This is another outrageous hoax. I mean, people are coming in. Oh, he came on my channel a lot. He's cool. Please tell me the true identity of Tom Tottori. Hey, this is a guy who introduced your book on Wikipedia 4 years before it was released. Are you a friend or an acquaintance of yours? If I ask Nihon University, will they tell me? So you guys can take more look at these comments if you want, but let's take a look at this little highlight introduction he did off of this video. And this is towards the end of the actual video. We're going to look into some stuff. This is a long one, but this is important so people can know the truth. I've been waiting to save the best for last.
It'll be released, I believe, later on this year. It's called Assassin's Creed Shadows. The protagonist, the main character, or one of two main characters, is Yasuke, the African who served Oda Nobunaga, Japan's greatest warlord, and fought by his side at his death. He had often been in a fictional character or a basis for a fictional character. For example, the manga Afro Samurai. Endo Shinsuke wrote.
So you guys see that? Afro Samurai is based off of him. We know Afro Samurai is not real. It's fictional, and they even said that. But guess what? That was done through Japan. The falseness is about him being a samurai and the story that they're fitting here. That's important to understand here, because a lot of people's imaginations can be filled with things, because this guy's good at what he's doing, and make you think of certain things, and you'll be fighting among people you don't have a problem with thinking something that's not real.
A book called Colombo, what it actually meant. Originally from Colombo, which is Sri Lanka. It's one of the old civilizations, capital cities of Sri Lanka. A word of
Both of them lived in Tokyo. Lance Elise still lives in Tokyo. They've been in Tokyo for quite a while. So, just to let you guys know that. And this interview and podcast is in Tokyo, where they're both at doing this.
Thomas, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come here this early morning. You live where?
Chiba.
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 Way across the Tokyo
Makuhari,
Channel.
near where
Makuhari,
you go for your
to-
guitar.
way over there.
Jamming.
That's a nice area. I like that area.
That's right.
That's really, really nice. It's really developed. I remember when it was just rice fields. I'm just kidding.
No, it was sea. It was sea
It was,
before.
and it was landfill. I know it's all landfill.
It was a rubbish dump. It was a garbage dump. That's where they used to dump the garbage. Yeah.
The garbage, they didn't dump it there. They dumped
They took it on in the Edo period. 200
Edo
years ago.
period because
Yeah.
then they did it over here in Odaiba.
Oh, good.
They don't realize that used to be a dump
It
area.
is, yeah.
So they love Japanese culture to the extent that where you could see that. I can't say a lot bad about this guy. He's kind of doing what he's supposed to do. But I would say that this guy did a lot of disrespect for what he did by doing that book. So honestly, you know, that right there it's just like, okay, hold on, bro. If you did all you did in Japan, why would you do that? You know what I mean? So obviously he had some inside help, and I think they want to question maybe some Japanese people that worked with him to forge this, false history, which is not good. And there's going to be some other interesting things in this video that's going to let you know him working with Ubisoft, why he worked with Ubisoft, and why it made sense. And we're going to talk about from a French, German, and British perspective here, and we'll go into that later on. But as you can see, this video is at 3,634. Guys, it was only at a couple hundred, but ever since this went on recently, there's been a surge, and it only has 4 likes, so you know people are furious. That's funny.
Underneath all of that,
Got
this is gonna. I was just over there the other night.
boom one day.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's gonna explode. All this stuff's gonna.
You want to avoid a diver. Yeah.
Like a big. What do they say? A beached whale.
Yeah.
They explode too.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
So you came here from. You stayed here overnight, didn't you?
Yeah, down
you
in
have
Sengakuji.
Sengakuji. But you work in Tokyo too.
Yep.
Because teaching at
So he's worked at Tokyo. He's had a job there actually. We're gonna see more about him too.
Nidai.
I am a professor,
Right.
an associate professor, a researcher, and a teacher at Nichidai. Yes.
What do you research?
History.
I think that was
Interesting. I think we can all agree with that.
something you told me the last time we met.
So he knows what he's
Are
doing.
we recording now?
We are recording. I
Okay.
mean, as big as we can be. But
Good
it
morning,
doesn't matter.
everybody.
Good morning. These two are your cameras. So these are the two
Okay.
that you'll talk to.
All right.
Whenever you say hi, mom, hi, dad,
That's it.
that type of stuff.
Yeah.
You talk to them.
Hi, Mom.
That'll make that. Yeah. Whichever one you pick. If you pick that one, it's good because that's the one you're going to talk to at the end.
Okay.
The red one.
Okay.
Anyway, Thomas, where were you born?
I was born in London
Okay.
in 1978.
So he's 46 right now.
Let me see. I was here at that time. I came here in '74. So you were just learning how to crawl. Oh, you just started to crawl.
I was.
You're 4 years
a
old.
Twinkle in my mother's.
Twinkle.
If you
No,
came
you
here
weren't.
in '74,
I came in '74. You said
yeah, so
that's
78.
right. What am I thinking about? You weren't even a
Okay,
twinkle
I
in your
wasn't even
daddy's
a
eye.
twinkle in my
You
mum or
were
daddy's
the
eye.
last thing they were thinking about.
Probably by that point, yeah. I don't think.
Do you have
they're even-
siblings? Do you have
they're married.
siblings?
Yeah. I have one brother and one sister.
Are you the elder?
I'm the eldest, yeah.
Oldest, okay.
Yeah.
So they weren't thinking about anyone yet.
They weren't thinking about anybody.
So there's 3 of you.
There's 3 of us.
Okay, the boys are the oldest, and then they had a girl, and that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
So that's the introduction. Now let's skip to some more interesting parts. If we go down here, we could see that this is stuff that is not related to that. But as we go down here, we got French, German, politics. You see, he's very well known and can speak French and German. Kind of makes sense. But we're going to go right to here. This is the important parts to continue. If y'all want to watch this, I'm going to post this in my bio so you can see it on your own time. If you want to show it to your relatives, people over in Japan, or people elsewhere, I'll link it to you guys. But let's cover the important stuff here. Because I watched this
Then
before.
what did
Or
you do from that time? Interpreter?
Well, I didn't know what to do, so I came to Japan.
Wait, this is after your 4 years after you finished.
Yeah.
With the degree
when I was
in
in my
what?
3rd year, or probably the 4th year, actually, I went to the careers office for the first time. I always tell my students to start thinking about careers in the 1st year. So students, if you're watching, start thinking about it in the 1st year.
Okay.
I didn't. I was probably just about to leave, and I went to the careers service.
Yeah, he definitely isn't thinking about his career right now, or he wasn't when he was doing this, because that's definitely shot down.
Looking around, thinking I should have come here before, and then on the sign on the wall, there's just a little printed piece of paper saying, "Become a yen millionaire. Interested?" Question mark. I thought, I always wanted to be a millionaire. And I said, yep. So I asked the careers person. She said, that's for the JET program. And it's where we send graduates to Japan. The Japanese government hires graduates from universities all over the world and sends them to Japan to work in schools for a year, up to 3 years, but a year.
So that was his idea of seeing that million yen, wanting to become a millionaire, and then he saw the Japanese culture as something that fascinated him, so he wanted to go there. And he made it clear why he was here, so let's continue.
The renewable contracts. And I said previously, I had heard of this before.
Now, what year are we talking now?
This is 2000.
2000.
Yeah.
Okay.
24
Become
years
a
ago.
yen millionaire.
Yeah. Yeah. But a yen millionaire is a joke, right? Because
Okay,
a
I
yen
understand.
millionaire, of
I
course,
understand.
is
I
not
understand.
that big a millionaire.
Right.
All right. I
No,
probably
not
A million
compared
yen.
to
You can get a
conversion.
million, right?
I could go to
A yen millionaire.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can be a yen millionaire by just going to the ATM.
But you
down
didn't
there.
know this at that time.
Well, I kind of did.
You
but
kind
it
of
was a
did.
joke. It
A
caught
joke,
me.
but you thought, okay.
It caught me.
Gotcha.
And but I'd always thought, no, I'll never go to Japan. And my kids love this when I tell them this, because they Daddy, you never would have met Mummy, and we wouldn't be here, and you wouldn't be doing this and all that. But it's true. I literally had not thought about Japan. I knew nothing about Japan, and I had even said, just as an off-the-cuff comment a year before, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go to Japan.
You should have thought about not doing what you did, not knowing that Japan would have been upset. But now they're angry at you. So yeah, man, you got some fire on you.
And then I ended up interviewing at the embassy in London. The education ministry people, Monbushaw, interview along with people from the embassy and local people as well. They're trying to work out who would fit in, who wouldn't cause any
For this
issues
JET program?
For the JET program. Yeah, it's quite a long. It's quite.
Well, you did cause a ruckus.
They're spending a lot of money. The Japanese government is spending a lot of money. You know, the Japanese government has to tick all the boxes before they can let any money go. So there was at least one, possibly two interviews, and then I think it was about 6 months wait until I found out that I was going to Japan. I had no idea about Japan, so I said, send me anywhere. I had ticked the box saying, I don't care where I go.
You didn't want to go to Germany or France since you spoke the language?
I'd already been there.
So you see, the German guy that he worked with, let's think about that. That's why he was able to work with Germany, and then Ubisoft is France. So, like I said, the co-writer of his partner is German, which we saw that. He's British, and he speaks French. And worked also with liberals on this game and in the woke crowd. I mean, we could kind of see how him and Ubisoft worked together and how there was a relationship here behind the scenes working with this game. There's no doubt about that. Anyone with high deductive skills can put that together right now. Mm-hmm.
But to live is different.
Yeah, I'd lived in both for half a year
you had? Okay.
for the internships. I
Right.
did an internship in France as well. It was a teaching internship in France.
see.
And I think I'd preferred the teaching rather than the translating. Anyway, 2000 July, I end up in Tottori Prefecture, not knowing anything about Tottori or
So he lands in Japan in the year 2000.
Japan. I couldn't speak a word of Japanese. It was an amazing 2 years. Because Tottori is the most rural, depopulated prefecture in Japan, or the smallest population, it was a real bonus for me because I like languages anyway, and I was able to learn Japanese, at least to a basic extent.
There were
in
no
those
other
days.
foreigners there?
Well, there were some other people on the JET program, and also at one point I got involved in a language exchange program, which was multiple languages. There were Chinese, Arabic, Japanese, English, French as well, probably. and we used to meet together. Most of them were students at Tottori University.
So during those times, he's worked with a lot of Asian people. So, at the end of the day, this guy knows what he's doing. It's not like he was making a mistake. He wanted to make some money, which obviously makes sense. He's made that quite clear, too. But I'm pretty sure he ended up loving Japan. Who wouldn't? But on top of that, it's quite clear that when he was writing this novel, he was working with people who did not want to work with Japan, and they teamed up with him. So I kind of say that it's quite obvious he didn't want Japan to know about that in that sense, and for it to be hushed up, and for people to believe in that so he can make a lot of money. And it's kind of messed up because, he was there for quite some time, and I would think that if you wanted to respect the culture, you wouldn't do something like that. But he did anyways. And we need to know more. He needs to be questioned. He needs to be brought forth. He shouldn't be hiding because that's bad. He just needs to face the world and be honest with the world. I think he would be respected more for that.
And we used to meet together and share languages and stuff, and that was fun. That's the kind of thing I liked in those days. Anyway, it was a great opportunity to learn Japanese, and it formed my life but having a good base at the beginning and then going on to learn it to business level, essentially, has formed what I do. I mean, I wouldn't be doing what I do now if I didn't have Japanese.
So you had to read and write as well?
Certainly reading.
So you saw what he said. His business is formed around what he learned in Japan. Which makes sense going to the Yasuke fabrication that he did. And like I said, this type of guy is not going to come off to you violent or anything. He's going to come off to you very well read, comfortable, likable, has that British charming appearance with the Tom Cruise look. And it's going to be hard to not like this guy, so you have to kind of get past that illusion so you can see his real motives and what he's doing. It's just messed up what he's done, and now a lot of people are mad at him, and I think both cultures should be, and he needs to find ways to make amends.
Handwritten is not good because
but you had to do that at that time.
It's the AI, right? We don't need to handwrite anymore.
Yeah.
Even then, you did not have to.
Well, I did. I did.
At that time,
I
you
copied
had to,
out
because
all the
that's how you really.
kanji.
Right,
I copied out all the
I'm sure you
kanji,
did.
several hundred, about 600 I got to.
Yes.
In those 2 years, I got about 600. And yes, it was 1,000 times each or something like that.
Right.
But I haven't ever read them. I haven't written them since.
You don't need to. No.
Yeah.
But you do. That's a good way to input it too.
Yeah.
If you
it's
write
superb.
it, that's the way to do it. Right?
Yeah. And did you
Most
do
of
that?
it. A little bit.
Yeah. It's the multiple senses.
Right, and most
thing.
definitely.
Yeah. It's not.
And you see where I'm letting some of this play out because people want to learn who this guy is. What's he like? How does he talk? Who is this guy, right? Right here just gives you a good idea about a window into his life and what's going on and how did he even get into Japan and what's going on. This is important stuff. People with intelligent mindsets and, you got people that have the scholarly mindset and just people that, in general, you should want to know the full story. You should want to know what's going on here. So I'm not making this a dramatic react. I am going to do my reacts like I've been doing, but we also want to learn here and, not interrupt way too much, only when it's needed.
The same when you're just typing or with your thumb on a smartphone because it does it all for you. But of course, like you said, we don't need that anymore.
You don't.
And especially for somebody who has to take shortcuts because I'm not a mother tongue speaker of Japanese. I had to jump at various points to get over to the next level to ensure that I could do my job and ensure that I could be responsible to my colleagues, make sure that I wasn't dead wood, if you like. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because otherwise, if you're
they're carrying you, right?
Yeah, they're carrying. Yeah,
that's right.
And I don't want to be carried.
So when you teach your classes now, are you doing it in Japanese?
I do some classes in Japanese.
But most of it's in English.
My job, I do teach classes, of course, but most of my job is actually admin or organizational or research-based. So it's about one third, I would say. I teach 6 classes a week, which is not an awful lot. 3 of those are English classes, which I teach history in English in those classes. 2 are seminar classes, which are at a high level with a very small bunch of students.
What's a small bunch of students?
Around 10.
And what's your regular class, basically?
30 or 40. Yeah. Well, that's fun, kind of normal.
Okay.
The English classes are for first years. In this case, I enjoy doing that. It's just comes naturally.
So we're at 31 right here. Now, this is where we could just skip to here a little bit. You kind of get the idea of what he's saying, what he's teaching, what's going on. What the hell was he doing in Tokyo to get to the point of making that book?
It's probably about 50-50. We interview for those classes, so they have to come and interview, and I think I want 50-50, male female. I want probably shouldn't say this. I want some jokers. I want some serious people.
Yeah, I bet you do.
I want some overseas students, perhaps a quarter to a third, which at the moment means from the People's Republic of China.
Really? So most of your students are Asian.
Oh, they're all Asian.
They're all Asian. You don't have any Westerners.
Ethnically.
Okay, ethnically. Okay.
Oh, this
might have one or two.
This is Nihon University. No, we at the moment, I don't think.
So he said Nihon University. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that want a lot of answers from there regarding history and revising, stuff like that. So it's all right here, it's coming out.
We'd have anybody in our student body, in our 4-year student body, who's not from Asia. I wouldn't have thought so. There are plenty of people of mixed race, like my children and your children, who are born raised in Japanese, but with different heritage.
Right.
So you see what he said. His kids were born in Japan. So is this guy's. Interesting.
And different ancestry.
But they're not coming from overseas to come there, unless it's just for a short term.
Almost all of our overseas. Yeah, we have some short-term people from all over.
Right, exchange students.
Yeah, exchange students.
Those, right.
I'm working with them from this year as well, which is going to be fun because then I'll be teaching at a high level in English.
I don't know if he's going to be working with anyone this year. He seems to be jetting off. I think all those plans kind of like fell off. So it's going to be interesting to hear from him next and what the hell is going on. And, I'm wondering myself, y'all, is he still in Japan? Where the hell is this guy? Or did he just disappear? Nobody knows where he's at. I don't know. I didn't look deep into that, but I've heard that he's been dodging and disappearing. So I would like to know where the hell he's at, too. Is he still at Nihon University? Or did they fire him and let him go because of this controversy? How are the leaders? Are they angry at him? You know what I mean? We obviously know that's the case, but where the hell is he at the moment?
And I have done for a long time.
But it gives you a relief valve too, and helps you to check yourself too.
Yeah.
How you see it.
Absolutely.
That's the biggest thing, I think. Whenever
That's
you're
spot
teaching,
on. Yeah.
That's right. It helps you to check yourself. How have I really been interpreting this when you have to explain to someone else in your mother tongue?
Yeah. It's a really good point.
That's something you really, self-awareness. And it helps you to become a better teacher.
Self-awareness,
Everyone should have to, in a way, learn.
I think that he was lacking self-awareness of how far this would go. Because if so, I don't think he would want to put himself in that position and jeopardize, how far he's progressed in Japan to be able to enjoy the life that he has in Tokyo. So, yeah, I don't know about that.
Learn to teach. And I think teachers should be moved around out of their subjects.
Yeah.
So they're learning. Those are the best classes when the kids can see the person who's supposed to be helping them digest this information or absorb it.
Let's move to this.
Thomas Lockley is best known for African Samurai. His love for that book. That book has taken him into so many areas of controversy that we were going to talk about that a little bit today.
Oh, yeah.
And he said he'd do that. But the one that he's doing right now is a brand new book he's come out with.
Gentleman from Japan.
Gentleman from Japan.
Yeah. And
so just to let y'all know, this is his most recent book. Not the one in 2019, not before he was editing Wiki, but this is the one that came after the other ones that he introduced this year, as we see at June 17, 2024.
it's about
two boys, actually, too.
Two boys, but we concentrate on the main character.
He's 21 years old.
Older. Yeah,
right.
About 21 years old at the time when he arrived in England at Queen Elizabeth I's court in 1588. It's called A Gentleman from Japan. And it is a book about history which people never think about. The history of early cultural contacts. It's just about taking off now as well. So if anybody wants
How
to
long
read
ago
it,
did you write it?
it came out 3 weeks ago, May the 21st.
But when did you finish the book?
Books take a long time. It took about 7 years to write, and then 1 year from finish of the first manuscript to going through the edits, and then.
So he said, like, the book that he wrote, it took him 7 years. So that gives us an insight about previous books that he wrote. Interesting.
Publishing.
Okay.
So the books are hard work, but they're fun.
Now, what about the African Samurai?
Yeah.
Now, you've had some controversy with that. You were telling me just before this that you have some friends that really love you because of this book.
And people that hate me because
people
of the
that
book
hate
as
you.
well.
What is that
Yeah.
about?
So he's aware of that. He was already getting that at that time. This is going to be interesting.
Well, there's recently a computer game being announced. It'll be released, I believe, later on this year. It's called Assassin's Creed Shadows. And it's set in Japan. And lots of people have been waiting for years for one of this franchise, Assassin's Creed, to have a one set in Japan. And
So this guy knows this. And everybody should think the same thing here now. Not only that, but of course we've been waiting for this. And we know it's always historical accuracy. And the main character is representing his region. The male character, we all know that, and they're in that region, and it feels very authentic. With some fantasy aspects too, well, obviously, but he said it, so he knows this.
the protagonist, the main character, or one of two main characters in this computer game, is Yasuke, the African who served Oda Nobunaga, Japan's greatest warlord, and fought by his side at his death, essentially.
No, he did not.
And Assassin's Creed have resurrected Yasuke to be one of the main characters in their game. Now, some people love this, some people hate this, and because I'm the person that originally resurrected Yasuke and did the research into who he really was and where he came from.
No, you did not. You fabricated it for an agenda. He could have told the truth here, but that's backfiring because I bet he didn't think that this was going to happen. It's funny how the universe works.
And what he did, and possibly the possibilities about where he went to.
What year was this that you did the
Possibilities. You're supposed to be a history researcher here, right? I caught you right there, possibilities, so you don't know.
this? Did you resurrect him?
That book was published in 2019, 5 years ago.
No one had done it prior to you.
So he said that book was published. Remember when he said how long it took for him to make that other book? 7 years. It take a long time to make. So even if it only took him 5 years, so I'll say that 2019, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14. This is PlayStation 4 era. This game was not even heard of. Oh yeah, you better believe he's been working with Ubisoft for quite some time to fabricate this and messing around with Wikipedia. Because why was the Wikipedia changed in 2015? Oh, he was doing it even before that. Guys, this is crazy.
He had often been in a fictional character or a basis for a fictional character. For example, the manga Afro Samurai.
Fictional character, not historical accuracy.
So he's the basis for Afro.
That was before your book?
Yeah, all of these mangas and animes used him as a basis for their main characters.
So they knew he...
So that's actually true. So you guys hear this, right? For y'all thinking that it's all true and an Afro, it's not real. But it was still awesome. I mean, I beat the Afro Samurai game when it came out. Part 2 was trash. I love the cartoon that they had in Cartoon Network and Toonami back in the days with Samuel Jackson, being the main protagonist, voice acting it and everything. It was great, you know what I mean? And Japan was involved with that. The problem with this is that you didn't involve Japan in his shows. And you wanted to do things your own way. That's why you didn't include them. But yet, you're using their history and you're living in their world. Okay.
existed.
Yeah, he's
He's
been-
well known.
He's well known among.
But you're the
people
first one to do a full
bring
book
him
on
out.
it.
And now
bring
he's
the man
becoming well
out.
known.
I was going to say something because
world.
back in the 70s when I was here, there was a guy that was a teacher. He's also a professor. He's a black professor. And he was about everything black because he's a little bit older than me.
Okay.
And he was pro-black.
So that's a bad mindset, because that means that they only want to see things that way. And you have a lot of people that are like that, and that's for anything, like, you know, because that means that you're just stuck in that and you can't see anything else, and you don't want to see reason. And there's a lot of people that are like that with this game when it comes to seeing Yasuke as being represented like that, and they just want to see that, where it's like, we need you to get out of that and see the truth so we can understand why this is an issue right now. Because like I said, somebody's like that, like, okay, I want you to think about the universe. Just you and I too, right? It's one song. It's musical. And what gospel means, it means God, spell and effect. It's a musical harmony. So if you think about a unified song, it's one song, one dance, one love. Like you know all about that. That's what the term universe means. So you got universities, right? This is all music, y'all. Even your life and beating right now. See, to the beat, to the sound. When you go in the hospital, you got a volume wave that's going up and down like that. That's a volume. It's all music. You start to understand that it's musical, and there's something that put that together like an orchestrated harmony. Right? I don't want to blow y'all's minds too much, but the point is that when you realize that type of stuff, it's based off of harmony and unity. What these people are doing here is not that.
He told me.
So, think about when you say you're only about a spectrum and a color. You're not in the universe. You're not in the universal mindset. When I say that, you're not in unity with everything. See, when you look at the sunlight, that's total harmony. Gold is total harmony of everything all into one. That pure spectrum is total harmony into everything in one. Love is the same way. So when you sit there and saying, I only want this spectrum, it's all about this spectrum, you've separated yourself. And by separating yourself from that can put you in slavery. I'm helping people free their mindsets with this, if they can get in tune with this. Tune. It's a tune. See, you see what I mean? It's all about the oneness with everything. But when you play these type of games, you are dividing people and putting them in bad frequencies. Lesson from Michael here.
You know, one of the most famous samurais here was African.
Yes.
And I went, really?
He knows that. He's just playing on it.
How much do I know about
It was
Japanese history?
68 that,
Yes.
that he really burst onto the scene in Japan. He was the protagonist in a book, a children's book actually, called Kurosuke.
In 1968.
1968, yeah.
This is
It
interesting.
was a children's historical, it was one of the precursors to what we call manga. It was half animated and half book form, Kurosuke. And then in 72, I think it was Endo Shunsuke, the very famous author who wrote Silence and all sorts of other stuff, he wrote a book called Kurombo.
Yes.
And that's probably the book which your
friend was talking about.
friend
right?
was talking about.
Now, that word is not the same as what's being used now today. You know how language changes. I've covered that before, and you're going to see what I'm talking about here.
Because that, I mean, anything that Endor wrote was huge at the time, and
Yes.
it would have just been fresh on his mind.
Well, that was
at
the
that point.
terminology that we were told as African Americans when we came here. If Japanese say that to you, that's like calling the N word in America. Kurombo. But something that other people, I think the younger people don't realize. When I came here in 74, they used to have a Kurombo Taikai. People would get on TV in the summertime to see who could get the darkest.
Okay.
Really?
So if somebody was viewing that today, they would see that as racist, but it's not even racist. This is why you need to understand history and understand the way things work. It's just like if somebody looked at the word gay in the 50s or whatever, it could have meant happy, but if you look at the word gay now, it's being used as an insult towards a certain lifestyle. Words in general can be used like that. Like, you know, the word female dog used to mean bitch, right? But now you can use that to insult somebody, and it would be considered a cuss word and an insult and profanity. We can look at language in a lot of categories where things could be turned into slang and be used differently. Language is very mutable. We can't get polarized and to only see it one way.
and it was called Kuromu Taikai. The Japanese cherished it, and I would watch that. The contradictions, it just didn't make sense. But it was never as virile as America has made it.
Yeah.
You see what he's saying? That's an example. There could always be huge misunderstandings between cultures. This happens all the time. It's actually happening right now, and then there's people that play on that.
With England's support. But anyway,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it makes
so
sense.
I never felt offended
Yeah.
when the Japanese said because they had no emotions behind it.
Yeah.
No.
And I looked at the etymology of that word
It's cerebral.
to find out what it actually meant. And it's originally from Colombo, which is Sri Lanka. It's one of the old civilizations, capital cities of Sri Lanka. And Colombo is actually derived. The etymology of that word is from Colombo.
But it's kurumbo in
Colombo.
Japanese.
It came through
From
somehow
Colombo.
through the.
And what does it mean in Sri Lankan?
No, it
Black
just,
person?
No, in old Japanese, it meant somebody from Sri Lanka.
Oh, that's what it meant.
Yeah, with dark skin.
Dark skin.
Right.
Okay.
And therefore, originally that's what it meant, and it was a word of respect for a fellow Buddhist kingdom. It was no disrespect.
Disrespect, yes.
Then in the 20th century, it took on a different meaning.
Right.
Yeah, I think a lot of things went into a degenerate state in the 20th century. Yeah, I think we all know that. Yeah.
And came to, as you
Person
said,
blanc.
the
never,
N-word.
never with any. But no, that's what they said. They could say that.
Yeah.
But they never said it with. It never vibrated the way
Okay.
it vibrated if someone were to say that in the States
Right.
or
Okay.
in England. You just didn't. I don't think the English used it so much. But
Probably not. No.
no, they didn't have to.
That's
They
a
made sure
different story.
they made sure their biggest colony did, America. So America said, well, let them, okay. But I never felt
Good
that.
job.
No.
There was no reason for them, and they just did not vibrate the same way.
Yeah. There was a time also when there was a movement.
He kind of slid in something there. He's smiling because he knows it's true about Britain playing the puppet master and being subtle and just, keeping on their nice little disguise, and just like, you guys are just a little bit too nice, and then they just don't want you to see anything negative over there. But I think a lot of people now have been shown so much to where, it's not seen that way anymore. But that doesn't mean you have to look at all the common people that way. But it's just, something to understand how much Britain has colonized and fucked with other people's history. They've done this a lot. It's nothing new. Just like when they went to Japan and used the Japan and puppeted them to attack China a long time ago. And that's why some of the people from China were calling the Japanese, you must be Caucasian, you're because you're working with them. But it's like, no. Britain colonized them. Like, if you watch It Man, it gives you an idea. And they flooded the streets of Japan with opium. They did a lot of terrible things, It just was not very nice. And they used the Japanese for that too. And then there was a lot of wars that went on with that. And I think if we know our history, we can realize that Japan did not want to be bothered by the Brits, but they're assholes, so they're known for doing that. They've gotten better with that now, and karma has came back on them, and I think we all know that.
To ally with African places like Ethiopia, Abyssinia, in the 30s, there was it was brief, but it was there.
No, it's brief.
It was called Alliance of the Dark Peoples,
Okay.
and there were
Wait.
many.
In Japanese.
So what he's talking about is during World War I, when they wanted to have more numbers because they felt like they were dealing with something that was probably like unfair for an advantage. So they wanted to open more alliances. This didn't happen for very long though, but he's going all the way back to like, I think maybe the 30s, I believe, or somewhere around that region. Japan won their war though.
I mean, that's how it was translated.
Yeah. Well, the policy, the government policy
Okay.
at the time was the concept of basically allying
African.
against the Caucasian, what you call
Okay.
the Caucasian empires.
Caucasian. Okay, right.
So
So you see how they're not racist because they were willing to do alliances with other races outside, who they were dealing with, because they had some wars with China too, as I was trying to tell you about. So this is not what that's about. And people can know, even back in those times, Japan was not racist.
Oh,
Right.
against.
yeah, absolutely. So
And this is during when?
this is the 30s when,
Yeah.
in the build-up to war, Japan knew that it couldn't really
Do it alone. Yeah.
fight alone, or didn't have the depth and also perhaps the moral backbone to make it happen. And there were moves which included Africa, Abyssinia and Ethiopia in particular, but also included bringing hundreds of thousands of Jews to Manchuria especially, but also to other territories held by Japan or controlled by Japan as settlers to share their expertise and other things. And that was called the Fugu Plan. The Ethiopian plan, I don't know if it had a particular name, but it was...
Well, Japan, y'all can answer more of that. I'm not going to speak wholly on that because I didn't look deep into that. But you could tell that he's looked into a lot of things into U.S. history, and he was definitely there. Obviously, he's there right now with this guy, Lance E. Lee. So it's just interesting to peer into his mindset and see what he's learned. This is why this is important, and I think that this should be a long video so that once we get this, we know a lot. And a lot of people don't know this video exists. And I'm pretty sure you guys are happy to see this because it's like, who is this guy? I would like to see some things about him. That's why I'm doing this for y'all. And I just think it's good to do this and for that to be on my channel and to grow with something that's actually catering to something that actually matters and that is beneficial for people in terms of knowledge, doing the right thing, shedding light on, just a lot of good things. Just having it all together is the best way for me to grow on my channel. That's how I want this channel to be. With stuff like this. Obviously, I'm going to be doing gaming and streaming and all that stuff too, but I'm trying to, have some diversity here because I'm not one-dimensional. I never have been, and I'm glad to do this. You know what I mean? Like I said, I have plenty of time to play, but when I do something, I don't like to do anything shallow. I like to fully cover it. Because that's just who I am. You know what I mean? I'm hardcore. I don't like doing stuff casually. I like doing stuff in depth and covering as much as I can, and that's why you see me doing it like this. And I'm very passionate, as you can see. Like I'm a sunny being myself too. But yeah, it's good to see and learn and see what the hell's going on over in his world and how that started and get to the roots and see how everything springed out and branched out to this present moment.
It included marriage alliances between noble Japanese ladies and an Ethiopian prince. It was all over the newspapers at the time, and it fizzled out during the Italian invasion of Abyssinia in 36, and Japan was then concentrating on the war with China from the year after that. So it would have been a very interesting new direction in history.
46, 25.
Hitler put a stop to all of that, I would think, after that too, because when they saw the direction he was going in, they said, "Okay, we'll leave the people of color alone."
Well, a lot of the Jews from Europe that got out over the Soviet Union came to Japan, tens and tens of thousands, as I understand it, and they settled and were safe. I wouldn't say they were comfortable. Many of them were sent to Shanghai, in the ghetto in Shanghai. Others were in Manchuria. A large community was in Kobe, about 5,000 in Kobe during the war. My grandmother was a refugee.
So you see what he's saying. A lot of them felt safe, but they were uncomfortable because obviously, they didn't speak Japanese, they didn't know what the hell's going on, but they weren't being slaughtered or anything. So that's another sign of them not being racist. So we just have so many facts here that we can cover. It's right there in front of you guys. There's nothing else to really say about that. So I'm all about the truth. All that other stuff, get out of here. Unless we just want to play around in fantasy somewhere else and have fun, that's different. But in this type of subject, it's time to get to the truth, to the heart of the matter, and get past all this nonsense.
From Nazi Germany.
Okay.
A Christianized. Her father was Jewish, baptized, and her mother was not Jewish, German, and they made life really hard. They made life.
I don't think so.
My great-grandfather was a decorated war hero in the First World War for the German Reich. He fought 4 years and survived, which there can't have been many people who were in the battlefield for 4 years in the First World War and survived. And he became a lawyer afterwards. But when the Nazis came, he was forbidden from practicing. And forbidden from making money. he had no way of making money. In the end, he decided to become a pastor and was sent to New York, actually, for training in some kind of evangelical
So we're about to get to
pastorship.
this.
African samurai.
Well, right now, I'm not quite sure. I've had some nasty comments on my Facebook page. I've decided to take down all my family photos from my Facebook page, my own stuff.
From Japanese.
So he already had dealt with what he dealt with, but how long it dragged on to this part, yeah, he eventually ended up backing off because he just doesn't, he can't handle, he didn't like it.
You've been getting these nasty comments, or would you rather not say?
Actually, to be honest with you, yes, a few from Japanese, though this is the first time ever that I've had anything controversial from Japanese people about Yasuke. Yasuke is seen as a hero in Japan, and even in the 70s he was a hero. And
I have heard from them, so I know what they think about it, and not what you're saying.
he's only
But he's not the problem,
bigger.
though. It's what you did.
I'm not going to say
didn't do
what
this.
some of these comments are, but they're not very nice.
Oh, no.
And but it's
I'm not going to do that, though.
in English. Almost all of these comments or blog postings or massive amounts of stuff on YouTube. Some of them are not necessarily directed at me per se,
It's the
but
idea.
it's the idea. That's it. And I've decided not to give them credence by watching. But I
should.
get reports from
Right.
some people. I've got some beautiful messages on Instagram and things from people I don't know.
So we can imagine when that first was revealed and what was going on. Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure, like, when you take stuff down, he's definitely got death threats. You know what I mean? He's definitely got a lot of stuff from, multiple cultures. There's no doubt in my mind about this. 100%. I mean, he's not saying it, but, I mean, like I said, if you got, like me, I have a high IQ and other people, and you don't even have to have a high IQ, but if you just realize what he's saying, nasty comments, yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. And just some of the things he says that I just don't want to talk about it. Oh, yeah, because it involves death. We know it.
Saying you must be having a hard time at the moment, keep fighting the good fight, kind of thing. And I'm not fighting any fight,
No.
You don't know the Just ring.
but it's lovely to have people, just random strangers.
That's the
saying,
majority. That's the majority of
Yeah.
people, I think, because of the way we are conditioned as human beings to either fight or flight. We like to focus on the negative.
Some people really do. You're right.
They say entertainers or anything. When they're in an audience, it could be hundreds of thousands of people.
Where are we at?
The person they will remember is the guy that sat there and looked like he had a grimace or something. Everybody else could be like, everybody else could be happy.
Smile.
In a way,
There's always this one
he's
guy.
right about that. Like the way some
And
of
you'll
this
focus
world
on that.
works.
The same
Definitely this
thing
fucking
about
world.
the internet. We'll take that and we'll give energy to the one or two unpleasant comments,
Yeah.
and we could have thousands of good comments.
Yeah.
But because we know
What he's saying is actually the way that the average person who's not highly intelligent and undeveloped will be, and even sometimes some people that are, like, he's very right about that. Like, they could be having 97%, one person comes in with one comment, they'll sit there thinking about it, get stuck on it. Like, that is human nature, can definitely be like that. He's 100% correct, and there's people that know that and take advantage of that. That's a good point.
people won't focus. People won't. Intuitively, we know people don't want to hear about all the good news.
Yeah.
But they would love to hear about that one guy that said, "You were naughty for putting that in there."
Yeah.
Really? Really? But I wouldn't take it with that because most of those people too have a problem. It's about them.
Subliminally
It's never
telling him
about
something.
your information. It's about them.
It's about
And they won't come out and say it in public because they know it wouldn't fare.
It depends on who you're speaking to. Because people from the sun are going to expose this nonsense. But what he's saying is there is a lot of cowards that are like that, and I agree with what he's saying. But everybody knows, over here, yeah, that's not happening. Right out in the open.
Fare well for them.
Yeah.
Go ahead, say that in public. Let us know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
They won't do it.
For the most part, you are right, though.
Personally,
I'd say he's right.
I think that Yasuke was a man, and he deserves to be given respect for what he did, which was absolutely amazing.
I would like for Japan to tell me that, and you not. Okay, so what's interesting about that is if you're going to say that he deserves respect, why would you do what you did, bro? I can't get with that shit.
Come from the other side of the world in
Why don't you say from where? You don't know.
difficult circumstances that we're not exactly sure what the
It's like he doesn't know.
circumstances were, and to rise to the top of another
Rise to the top of what? You know how long it takes to even become a samurai? No, Nobunaga chose him as a retainer to carry his stuff around. He's just interested because he didn't see nobody like that in Japan. And let me make it clear, it's not like that just happened either. I mean, the Jesuits brought him over there. We got to understand who they are. When we're talking about going all the way back to the Spanish Inquisition, the Dragon Age in Rome. You see what I'm saying? Evil. Nobunaga was considered evil, a demon king. So I think if anybody was smart enough, we would realize that, no, he was brought as a slave. And he went to somebody else who was very notorious. So I'm just not buying that nonsense. Like, just get out of here. He was not a samurai, and you're spinning a fantasy to make people feel good. Like I said, this guy can make you feel very comfortable. He's good. It's like putting you in this little, this little dream. You got to snap out of it. He's good.
Country's culture and be at the side of the greatest ruler of the time at his death, fighting at his death, loyal to the end. It's an amazing story. And I think we should give somebody like that the credit they deserve. I don't know whether the game Assassin's Creed should have him as the main character or it should have somebody else as main character. Quite frankly, I don't care.
But you have nothing.
Yeah, he doesn't care, obviously. That's a stupid ass comment. I would think that if you were in Japan for that long, your dumb ass should know better than to say that. You fucking clown.
Nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with it.
You see no.
Yeah, you have everything to do with it.
Don't attack Yasuke. Don't no. It's nothing to do. Though my book's starting to sell well again, which is
That's
nice.
good.
Yeah,
This clown.
it's nice.
So you can get some background on it.
Yeah, but don't attack Yasuke as a man.
Nobody is attacking him, bro. You know damn well what this is about. Stop trying to spin this bullshit. Come on, man.
Let's remember this man for who he was and the great things that he did.
Thomas, I think that we're getting closer to that now because.
But there it is, y'all. After that, they just talk about some other stuff, as you see down here. Gathering traction for new book, podcast, upcoming TAC Talk, advice to pre-teen Thomas, all this type of stuff. I gave you guys full coverage on this. You got to see inside this. You got to see how he thinks from beginning to end. And I hope that you did watch this so that we could just be, done with all the stuff that people were talking about. And, there it is, done professionally. And I'm going to link this for you guys so that you can see this. All right, y'all, like, subscribe if you like this type of content. I am glad to bring you guys the truth and shed the light and cover this. All right, y'all. Peace out. Peace and love.